What's up, cinephiles? My name is TJ, and you're watching Cinemateq. It's time for your weekly wrap-up of the week's film news, so let's just get right into it. Also, you might notice this light's gonna change a lot. Well, deal with it. Look, we get it. We understand you. You already have Netflix, and Hulu, and the Criterion Channel, and Fandor, and BritBox, and Acorn TV, and Funimation, and Crunchyroll, and Sundance Now, and Tubi TV, and Canopy, and Popcorn Flicks, and HBO Go, and Crave, and YouTube Premium, and Disney Plus, it's coming out soon, and probably more. But when you're done watching all of the films on all of those streaming channels, where are you gonna go? What are you gonna do? Well, luckily for you, IFC has announced that they too are launching a streaming service. The service will be called IFC Films Unlimited, and is supposedly available right now for the low price of $5.99 USD. Except the service can only be accessed through the Amazon Prime channel service, which is only available in the United States. Will IFC Films Unlimited be available to people outside of the United States once Amazon Prime channels crosses borders? Well, we have no idea because no one's really ever said anything about that one way or the other. However, we have seen reports saying that Amazon Prime channels will be coming to Canada sometime soon, but once again, no definitive timeline has been given whatsoever. As we all know, the backbone of any good streaming service is the content that's actually available for you to watch. And IFC has a fairly large catalog that they can pull from. But those rights are probably going to be conflicting with a lot of other streaming services. So what have they actually promised will be on the service? According to IndieWire, you can expect to see films like the Palme d'Or winning 4 months, 3 weeks, and 2 days, Depend, The Wind That Shakes the Barley, plus other films including Certified Copy, Gomorrah, Kid with a Bike, and Tale of Tales, among several hundred others. And apparently, films will be added to the service after it launches, so it is going to operate like a streaming service. You heard it here first. Now, overall, this sounds like a good deal for consumers. You get another streaming service for a price that's somewhat reasonable, and the selection of films is going to be of a high quality. We know IFC has a pretty good track record in this regard. But honestly, and we didn't get to say this when the Criterion Channel launched because we weren't a channel when the Criterion Channel launched, but I think there's just maybe one too many streaming services nowadays, and the IFC channel just seems like it's not really a viable option, especially when compared to the offerings of other services that you're probably already using right now. And now we move on to something that is marginally different than what we were just talking about. It's another streaming service, except this one already existed before the filming of this episode. It's called Le Cinema Club, and honestly, I had no idea it existed before I found the article on it talking about how it's getting relaunched very, very soon. But the concept of the service is actually kind of cool. First of all, it's free, so you don't have to pay for it. And second of all, it's highly curated. They only put up short films, and they only put up 1 film a week. And then you only have 1 week to watch that film. So you're not gonna have to scroll through a giant catalog of stuff just to find something you wanna watch. You check the website once, and if you don't wanna watch it, you go do something else. But as we just said for the IFC Films Unlimited channel, it's the content that makes the streaming service. Roger Ham of The Stranger reports that the first title to be on the relaunch service will be Claire Denis' Keep It to Yourself, a short film that was thought previously to be lost, but Le Cinema Club found it and restored it, which is pretty great. As far as creating goodwill amongst cinephiles and cinema lovers, that's an amazing first step. Ham also reported that future offerings will include Yasujiro Ozu's recently rediscovered 1929 short A Straightforward Boy, hell yeah for more Ozu in my life, and Chris Marker's The Kumiko Mystery. Chris Marker's Sans Soleil is one of my favorite documentaries of all time, so I am 100% on board with casually going to this website once a week and seeing if it's up. I'm actually very, very excited to see those 3 films that I just mentioned, plus whatever else they put forward. It also sounds like they have a real interest in preserving and restoring films, which is vitally important to all film, but especially short films, because they tend to get discarded and moved to the back of the pack, while things like The Departed get restorations. I shouldn't have said The Departed, because that's not actually getting a restoration.
Actually, The Departed isn't getting a restoration yet.
Shut up, Rob! We all know it's not getting one. I meant to say The Doors. We all knew I meant to say The Doors. If this kind of streaming service sounds like it's up your alley, you can head on over to Le Cinema Club's website. You can find the link in the description below, and you can start watching all of these great restored short films starting June 14th. And now, as we move on, we have to include a story about Cannes. Because Cannes is still going on right now, and as you start to see more and more stories from Cannes start rolling in, you can really appreciate how ridiculous the entire event actually is. An example of this ridiculousness? At Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood premiere, he got a 7-minute ovation from the crowd. And that's a lot. Think about any other time in your life you've seen anyone get a standing ovation, at a concert or an award show. Odds are it didn't go on for 7 minutes, but this one did. And if you think something like that might be a little awkward, well, you're right, and there's video evidence to prove it. Posted to YouTube almost right after it happened, there is a glorious 3-4 minute long clip showing Margot Robbie, Brad Pitt, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Quentin Tarantino just kind of standing around and clapping a bit and looking a little emotional, but also wondering, when God, oh when will this end? Please let them stop clapping. Now, all things considered, this would normally be seen as a pretty good indication that the film is actually quite good and has a solid shot at some Oscar nominations later on this year. However, Cannes is the film festival that likes to be super extra, and having these kinds of prolonged ovations is actually a time-honored tradition at the festival. Adam Epstein, over at Quartz, did actually a great job by compiling a whole list of films that have also received super long ovations at Cannes, and it makes for a very interesting list to peruse. For example, other films like Quentin Tarantino's Inglourious Basterds received an 11-minute ovation. The 2018 film Capernaum, which you will remember for receiving an Oscar nomination for Best Foreign Language Film, received a 15-minute ovation. And the granddaddy of them all? Well, unless you also read this article, I bet you wouldn't be able to guess that it was actually Pan's Labyrinth with a 22-minute long standing ovation.
Who would sit there and clap for 22 minutes?
That's the thing, they're not even sitting, they're standing.
I couldn't even stand that long.
That's a whole episode of The Office I could have watched.
Yeah, it's literally an episode of television. So, sorry, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, you didn't get the longest standing ovation ever, but does that mean that you don't have a shot at an Oscar? Well, I mean, it's hard to say at this point. A lot of the reviews for the film have been pretty positive, so that all bodes well. Cannes Film Festival will be announcing the winners of its competition on May 25th, and the entire event is going to be live streamed. If you want a quick link to that live stream, you can find it in the description below. We're going to be having some in-depth coverage on the winners next week on the news wrap-up, so make sure to come back for that. Finally, not so much a news story, but once again, another film festival that I would like to highlight. The Inside Out Film Festival in Toronto kicked off on May 23rd, and there was actually a very nice expose about the festival written up in the Globe and Mail recently, which we've linked down below. And something that the expose touched on that I thought was interesting and is good to remember when thinking about film festival culture as a whole is that you do have those top festivals, those TIFFs and Venices and Berlins that are in and of themselves institutions. And then below that you have some of the larger genre film festivals like Hot Docs in Toronto or Fantastic Fest in Montreal. And those are pretty much assured to be around year after year. But then you get down into a slightly smaller size of festival, the Inside Outs and the After Darks and other examples that are not specific to Toronto. And those festivals actually have to fight for space to exist in the cities where they put on their festivals. And one of the great things about the article is that it speaks to how small the actual permanent staff of the festival is. The interview that was done for the article had to be conducted across the street in a cafe because the Inside Out offices were too small to accommodate 2 people. So with that said, we would like to wish the Inside Out Film Fest all the luck. Like I said, it started on May 23rd and it's going to be running through June 2nd at multiple venues in Toronto. Check it out if you're in the city, and if you do, let us know how it was. But that's not all we want you to talk about. Let us know what you thought about all of the news items that we talked about today. Do you think that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood has a shot at an Oscar, and does the standing ovation time actually matter? No, it definitely doesn't. Are you going to be subscribing to the IFC Film Unlimited service? And is the idea of a short film streaming service that only has has one short film every week available to you sound like a good idea? Yes, it is a good idea. I'm going to be watching it all the time. And now, cinephiles, we are at the end of this weekly news wrap-up. Remember to please subscribe to this channel, like this video, and come back. Be real cool to see you again, because we like your faces. No, that's too Philip DeFranco. I'm gonna punch you in the throat.
Yeah.